Vladislav Ribnikar Elementary School, located in prestige Vračar district of Belgrade, carried the reputation of being an elite institution. However, according to former school principal Vesna Fila, the term elite didn't refer to wealth or social status. Everyone who passed the school entrance test was welcomed. What made the school elite was its high qualified teachers and the quality of education it provided. In May 2023, many people in Belgrade enjoyed an extended weekend due to the public holidays. Wednesday, the 3rd of May, marked the return to school for kids and work for parents. At Vladislav Ribnikar School, it was a special day, as there was a photo shoot scheduled for the yearbook. Many children were excited to be back, but the day wouldn't be like any other, neither for the school nor for Serbia. This is the case of Mara, Bojana, Angelina, Ana, Adriana, Ema, Katarina, Sofia, Andrea, and Dragan, the victims of Belgrade school mass shooting. Quote, "If I remember correctly, at 8:02 a.m., I photographed the weapons with my phone in the living room, took the backpack, put weapons inside, and went to school. I planned to be late for the first lesson, so the students would already be in the classroom. I intended to arrive just before the class ends," said Kosta later in the interrogations after he killed 10 people and injured many. On the morning of May 3rd, 2023, 13-year-old Kosta arrived at school at around 8:40 a.m., armed with 2 handguns and 2 petrol bombs. Upon entering, he immediately pulled a gun and shot the school's security guard Dragan, killing him on the spot. "I saw the security guard fall. At first, I thought someone was throwing firecrackers," said the witness. Nearby, Bojana and Ana, 2 students on duty, were also fatally shot. Another student, Sofia, was walking out of the gym when Kosta took her life as well. He then proceeded to his class, where Tatiana, the history teacher, was about to begin a lesson on Balkan wars. Kosta entered and opened fire, hitting her multiple times. Luckily, she survived, but was critically injured. There was one student who was in a sport class downstairs when the gunfire erupted, told local media, quote, "I was able to hear the shooting. It was non-stop. I didn't know what was happening." Another quote, "My daughter was in the classroom. She was in the room where this boy first shot the teacher and then started shooting all the students. They hid under the desk and my daughter managed to run out." End of quote. Within moments, Kosta had shot several classmates, killing some and injuring others. Quote, "I am left-handed. I shoot with my left hand. I held the gun with one hand. I didn't intend to kill all the students. I wanted to start in my own class. My target was the 7th grade students. I brought 92 bullets and planned to use them all. I have been planning the attack for 2 or 3 weeks, but made the final decision that morning. I wanted to do it, and I did it." After the shooting spree in the classroom, Kosta fled by jumping out of the window. He called the police himself, identified himself, and confessed to the attack. What stunned investigators even further was that he remained calm after the rampage. He was arrested in the schoolyard without resistance. You can see his arrest on this video.
O Bože sveti. Ja nisam ni izvalila da je on tu sve vreme.
Da, on je ležao na podu,
The night before the attack, he watched a film about Columbine High School massacre. After the tragic shooting, authorities discovered that he also had a list of targets. Basically, on a piece of paper, he wrote a list of students and from which class they were. Both guns were legally registered to his father. The father was arrested shortly after the attack. Father claimed that the guns were locked in a safe and also secured with a code, but this later turned out to be a lie. Kosta has previously visited a shooting range with his father, where he was taught how to use a gun. First, there was a speculation that Kosta was bullied, but later on, police investigated this claim and confirmed that he was not bullied. I also found a post on Reddit. It seems valuable to me, but of course, take this with a grain of salt. And what she said in that post is, quote, "Hello, I am the girl whose name was erased from the list of victims. I am at his school and came to clarify something. Kosta was a good student, honestly. He was very quiet and had no problems with anyone. For example, if someone was laughing, he would automatically think they were laughing at him. He was never bullied. We even tried to approach him many times in a group work, but he would do the strict minimum to talk to us. As for why I wasn't killed, hopefully, it's because one day I reassured him when I noticed he was disturbed, telling him that we were not laughing at him. During the shooting, he had the opportunity to shoot me because I was near Adriana, but he didn't. I am not sure why, but that's what I concluded. Kosta is a psychopath, and no one should be by his side. What he did is horrible and just unbelievable. For those saying he was bullied, he wasn't. He was just paranoid." End of quote. Investigators reviewed his computer and mobile phone, finding traces of online searches about the Serbian criminal code. He planned the massacre before his 14th birthday in July, believing that he would avoid prosecution. Now this is interesting because in Serbia you are not criminally responsible before the age 14, and he was just 2 months away from his birthday. So, why did he research that? And it's true, he is not responsible for all the killings, for all the deaths, and also his parents are not responsible. So nobody is responsible for this crime. Also, he was not under the influence of alcohol or any psychoactive substances. Even more chilling, during his police interrogation, he showed no remorse and behaved arrogantly when speaking about the victims. He allegedly said, "I'm sorry, I didn't kill them all. It wasn't hard for me to kill them. I shot because I'm a psychopath. Before I started shooting, I hesitated a little. I wanted to call my mom and go back home. But at the moment, the security guard approached me and asked if I wanted to enter the classroom, as there were 2 minutes left until the bell. I told him that I would wait, but then I panicked. He represented a threat to me, maybe because he could have prevented me from going home." Kosta was placed in a Center of Child and Adolescent Neurology and Psychiatry clinic in Belgrade following the shooting. So who is he? Who is Kosta? He is described by his mother as a child with broad interest, curious, neither overly energetic nor impulsive. He is from a wealthy, high-educated family. His parents worked a lot. His father was a urologist and his mother worked at the Faculty of Biology as assistant professor. Kosta and his sister were mostly cared for by the nanny. According to his mother, he was a good student who kept to himself. One of his classmates said, quote, "He was quiet, appeared nice, and had a good grades. I didn't know much about him. He wasn't very open. I would never have expected something like this." On the internet, I was able to find some pictures that were previously on the school webpage but later taken down. So again, take this with a grain of salt. Some of Kosta's school achievements were also listed. So basically, in 2018, he achieved honorable mention in an international math competition in 2nd grade. 2019, 3rd place in a local math competition in 4th grade. 2022, honorable mention in a local math competition in 6th grade. 2022, 3rd place in a local history competition in 6th grade. 2022, 1st place in a city biology competition in 6th grade after qualifying with the 2nd place at the local level. His nanny, who had cared for him since he was 11 months, testified that Kosta was exceptionally intelligent and curious, with no signs of problematic behavior. However, as he entered the puberty, Kosta became more withdrawn, spending much time in isolation, locking himself in his room or the bathroom. His mother said that they had arguments over his messy room and unfinished schoolwork. In the second semester, she observed a drop in his grades, though teachers or other parents hadn't raised any significant concerns aside from Kosta's peculiar relationships with other children. Kosta had requested a transfer to another class where he had 3 friends, which seemed to improve his mood, I am assuming at the beginning of the 7th grade. How it is regarding this in your school? When somebody asks for transfer, what reasons are behind? After switching classes, he seemed happier and even attended a language camp in France. His homeroom teacher even sent a note to Kosta's mom saying that he is a wonderful child. As mentioned, Kosta was 13 years old when he committed the crime, and by Serbian law, he is not legally responsible. The higher prosecutor's office in Belgrade filed charges against the parents as well as the owner of the shooting club. The prosecution recommended 12 years in prison for the father and 2.5 years for the mother because her DNA was found on one of the shell casing at the scene. The parents had pleaded not guilty. The owner of the shooting range took a plea deal and was sentenced to 6 months under house arrest. Family members of victims have filed a compensation lawsuit against Kosta and his parents, seeking damages for the mental anguish caused by deaths of their loved ones and the fear they endured. Since the shooting, Kosta's mother has shown some questionable behavior, at least to me, but judge for yourself. It could also be that she was truly advised by a lawyer and truly advised by the therapist, but she faced public criticism for trying to transfer family properties to a third party shortly after the shooting, possibly to avoid legal ramifications. And she also attempted to leave Serbia with her daughter. I think they caught her in a North Macedonia border, and basically what she told them is that the therapist advised them that they should take a short vacation. And this is what she was doing, taking a short vacation. She is criticized for much more, such as returning to work a month after the shooting. Many people felt like, oh, her life goes on and ours is stopped. But also she is criticized how she appeared in the court, wearing the expensive glasses and with freshly styled hair, and also gaining weight, which to some means that she is not under the stress because she has an appetite. These last ones are a little bit so-so to me, but what is your opinion here? Quote, "We understand we are guilty. We didn't raise our child properly. We didn't monitor what he was doing. Acknowledging this could have lessened the pain. Instead, we are faced with a tragedy where the perpetrator cannot be held accountable, and his parents denied their responsibility, which made everything even harder. There's also the hypocrisy. They express regret and condolences in the court, but their behavior shows they only care about themselves. They don't even seem to care about their son. Despite him being a monster and a criminal, he needs help, but they don't understand that. They seem more focused on trying to get him out of the psychiatric hospital. They don't realize that he is better off there because we need to understand what caused this. Until we know that, we won't be able to prevent future tragedies." End of quote. Kosta plays a key role as a witness in the trial against his parents. Basically, his parents are now on the trial because the guns were wrongly stored and also because the father was taking him to a shooting range, basically teaching him how to shoot. Kosta was not obliged to testify against his parents due to being a close family member, but he decided to testify anyways. This is an interesting decision to me. Due to this decision on his part, he must answer every question asked in the court. In October 2024 was his first in-person court appearance. His previous testimonies to the higher prosecutor office in Belgrade were given via video call. The atmosphere in the courtroom was described as heavy, eerie, and intensely emotional. The court followed the prosecution's recommendation and closed the trial to the public. During his testimony, Kosta made several shocking claims, which upset people who were present in a court. He said he didn't know what punishment awaits him, but in the days before the shooting, he searched the internet to find out if life imprisonment exists in Serbia. When asked why, he responded, "Just to know." When asked if at the time of the search he already knew what he was going to do, he briefly replied, "Well, I had an idea." He explained that he decided to kill his classmates because he felt unappreciated and rejected. He added that he didn't care whether he was shooting boys or girls. When Suzana Stanković-Čikić, the mother of the murdered Andrija Čikić, asked him, "Why did you kill my only son?" Kosta replied, "I felt rejected." When asked, "How do you feel now after the crime?" Kosta acknowledged his guilt but showed little remorse, saying, "It was a wrong decision." "And how do you see your future?" "Different from normal." "I haven't thought much about it." During the hearing, Kosta claimed his mother was responsible for the deaths. Yes, you hear that right. He is blaming his mother. He said, "My mother constantly demanded that I was the best. She got angry and yelled at me whenever I wasn't." He also added that if I hadn't had my father's guns, I wouldn't have done it. He explained that he'd taken his father's guns from a cabinet in the apartment without difficulty and hidden them in his room 2 days before the crime. He also confirmed that his father has taken him to a shooting range and was proud of his technique. Here, it's worth mentioning that 80% of individuals who carried out mass shooting actually gets the firearm from their family members. 80% is a lot. According to reports, Kosta's mother in the courtroom was visibly distressed, with shaking hands and little to say. Kosta didn't see either his parents or the parents of the victims because he was sitting behind the tinted bulletproof glass. Someone on YouTube commented, "The kid is a manipulator. So many parents push their children, and whether the children meet the parents' expectations or not, they don't cause any kind of incident, yet alone such an evil act." Another person commented, "The kid is simply repeating things he is reading online or hearing in the media about what caused this kind of murders. Every parent pushes their child to progress and be successful." What is your opinion on that one? Also, yes, he's basically blaming the mother and the father and others because he felt rejected. The court proceedings are expected to end in 2025. It's super rare to have a mass shooting in Serbia. And also the school protection went up, not only in Serbian schools, but also in Balkan schools. Many schools hired extra security guard waiting if something similar will happen to them. I cannot emphasize enough that this is really not common, so everyone in the region was really tense. After the mass shooting, Serbian government decide to end the school year early and offer emotional support to the students and the ones involved. Following a tragic shooting, students in Vladislav Ribnikar School initiated a movement to honor history teacher Tatiana. Not sure if you remember from early on, I mentioned that she was shot, critically injured, but she survived. There was a GoFundMe, they gathered some money, but also they gathered signature, 13,000 of those. And they wanted that she is basically granted a monthly payment for the rest of her life, so she doesn't have to return to work if she doesn't want to. The Serbian government supported the initiative and granted her a monthly payments. So the ripple effect was also protest in Serbia demanding stricter gun control, improvement of school safety, and reforms regarding how media reports violent events. People also wanted broader political and social changes. Despite strict gun laws, which Serbia has, Serbia ranks third globally in civil firearm possession versus the United States, then it's Yemen, and the third is Serbia, with 39 firearms per 100 people. Historically, gun ownership is also cultural in Serbia. Many are using guns for hunting, and many illegal weapons is still circulating from the wars. After the shooting, what the government did is open a certain time window where you could return these illegal firearms without any punishment, without any consequences. Also, they tightened gun license regulation. Now they want to do more checkups on gun owners, and also they step up security measures in schools. However, it remains uncertain how deep and lasting these changes will be. The day after this mass shooting, another one occurred in the village Dubonia, killing 9 people. In general, in the days following, 14 incidents arose involving students posting threats or glorifying the shooter, which highlight the copycat effects, where media coverage can inspire similar acts. Studies show that this copycat effect usually lasts for 13 days after the mass shooting, and this is also known as contagion window. I personally falsely thought that majority of mass shooter attempt suicide after the act, but actually no, research shows that it's 50-50. 50% attempt the suicide, 50% not, while earlier shooters often took their own life, more recent ones are more likely to be apprehended alive. And this is due to two factors. One is that police is on the scene much sooner, much faster. And also a lot of these shooters now are actually wanting recognition, fame, notoriety. The rise of social media and 24-hour news cycle allows perpetrators to gain fame, leading some to prioritize leaving a lasting impression over committing suicide. You are entering this act knowing that your life will completely change, that it won't be the same, that or you will be dead or that you will be in prison for the rest of your life. Earlier shooters, such as those in Columbine and Virginia Tech, were often motivated by depression and suicide ideation, seeking suicide as the final step. In contrast, recent shooters sometimes exhibit narcissistic or sociopathic tendencies, seeking power, attention, and validation. The shift in psychological profiles may explain the decline in suicide rates among them. But to me, what is the most important here, and also I focus most of my research there, is the victims. I feel it's important to take a moment and honor who they were and recognize the immense loss their loved ones continue to endure. Dragan Vlahović. He was a school guard at Vladislav Ribnikar School, known to students as Chika Dragan, which means actually uncle. So you can see the closeness. If somebody calls you Chika, it means you are close to them. They trust you. He was a caretaker, protector, and friend to school staff and students. Despite not having his own children, he actually said that all of the students in the Ribnikar school are his children. He knew each student by name and understood what made them happy, what made them worried. He often tried to help them. For example, if they forgot books, he was like slipping the forgotten books in their hands so they wouldn't get in trouble. If somebody forgot the lunch money, he actually bought the lunch for them. And also, he carried some children up the stairs because, I don't know, maybe they were too tired to walk, but basically he was there for them. He wasn't just there to protect the property, but also he made the connection to people, to kids and the school staff. Students trusted him. him feeling comfortable by his presence and knowing that he truly cares. He had one passion, and this is Team Partizan. This is a soccer team. For him, every Partizan match was a celebration. He would gather the family, hang up his Partizan flag, and made sure that they all watched the game together. He would take the toughest situations and find a way to make us laugh, said Radica, Dragan's sister. Even at family gatherings, where things could get tense, Dragan would always find a way to turn it into a celebration. He had this way of lifting everyone's spirit. Radica describes how the pain of his loss fluctuates in intensity but never truly goes away. At the beginning, you function like a robot, shocked, and tranquilizers are taking over. But the pain suddenly strikes and brings you back to reality. Over 500 people came to their home to pay their respect, and this is actually a reflection of the profound impact that Dragan had on the community. His selfless love, care, and understanding made him an important person for the people around him. Radica vividly recalls the devastating moment when she learned about Dragan's death. Until the very last moment, she was clinging to the hope that Dragan had only been injured, but he will be okay. When she heard the reality, it felt like a plunge into total darkness. In some small ways, she finds comfort in knowing that Dragan didn't suffer. When she saw him for the last time during the identification process, his face was peaceful. He looked like he was sleeping with a gentle smile on his face. While the family continues to honor Dragan's memory, Radica is actually disheartened by the lack of broader social accountability. 9 months after the tragedy, we can't say that we learn much in terms of healing or accountability, she reflects. This is a statement from the interview that was conducted 9 months after the tragedy. Radica remembers Dragan as someone who lived life with deep sense of love and purpose. His kindness, his humor, his love, they didn't die with him. They live on in all of us who knew him. Bojana Asović. Bojana was a deeply empathetic person who always went out of her way to help others, even from the time in kindergarten. When she was in kindergarten, she was standing at the daycare door saying goodbye to the kids that went home, giving them hugs and kisses goodbye. And this nurturing nature continued throughout her life as she showed incredible maturity and kindness towards her classmates and friends. She could keep secrets like no one. She hated the injustice and she could sense it even as a small child. Her notebooks in school were immaculate, so her classmates often borrowed her notes. She loved to share them, as well as pencils, erasers, and even her snacks. She didn't like arguments. If she found herself in a conflict situation, she would walk away. I just don't want to be part of the fight, she told others. I hate this the most. She had a sporty spirit and also excelled in drawing. She loved watching quiz shows with her family. Her favorite one was Slagalica. Bojana also dreamed of becoming a famous Roblox player one day. Her mother Maria recalled the unbearable moment she learned about the daughter's death. On the morning of May 3rd, Bojana sent her a message telling her she was on duty at school. And this was actually something that wasn't planned. So she didn't know beforehand she was on duty. And also she told her mother that Anna also didn't know she was on duty that day. That was the last time they communicated. Mom's colleague later informed her about the shooting, and in that moment her world collapsed. Because the mom knew that Bojana is on duty, so she knew she was at the entrance of the school. So when you enter the school, there is a little desk and 2 students are sitting there on duty. This is pretty common in Balkan schools, not sure how it is in your country. My legs gave out. I screamed because I knew she was at the entrance. I died that day. That was my end. Nothing exists anymore. You feel desperate and powerless. Bojana's father also expressed how everything the family had worked for was destroyed that day. I feel immense sadness and injustice. I died that day. I tried to live, but it's not working. We were happy. I don't want to talk about Boca because it feels like I am saying goodbye. Bojana was super close to her brother. They were like twins. And since she is not here anymore, her brother is really struggling and is avoiding home because it's just so heartbreaking without her. Bojana's mother also emphasized, so she is actually a cop, and she said, even though I am a police officer, my children have never seen a weapon, referring to the accessibility of the weapons. In Kosta's house, the weapon was super accessible. In Bojana's house, it wasn't. They actually never saw a weapon. They probably, I assume this, didn't know where it is. So Bojana's mother, was extremely responsible, as you should be, with the weapon. 7 days after the mass shooting, the school reopened. And this is the decision that left a lot of families of the victims feeling abandoned by the system that was supposed to protect their children. It left the feeling that the school is rushing back to normal and the tragedy and the pain is not acknowledged enough. The Children Easter Magic, this is an art competition, will now be named in Bojana's honor, preserving her legacy as a talented artist and compassionate friend. Bojana, as I mentioned before, she was a talented artist and she was actually one of the winners of this competition earlier that year. Anna Božović. Anna was the youngest in her family, lively and joyful child. Music and dance were important parts of her life, and she often participated in hip-hop dance competitions and judo training. Her room remains untouched, her world map still hanging on the wall. Her stuffed animals remained on her bed, and a large frame photo of her standing upside down in her judo outfit dominates the space. Her desk is as she left it, with paper drawings and notes still hanging on the wall. Everything still smells like Anna, said her parents. When she was little, we would race to see who gets to her room first, to wake her up, because we loved the way she smelled in the morning. She was slower, and I would wake her up with the kisses. Her father recalls this special moment, these special mornings they were sharing together. When Anna was just 2 weeks old, her mother suffered severe bleeding, and she needed to be rushed to the hospital. Ivan was taking care of Anna and her older brother alone. He embraced his role, feeding her formula, changing her diapers, and ensuring she was cared for. When the mom returned from the hospital, he remained deeply involved in Anna's life as she grew, driving her to many activities and classes. I knew even then that this was it. This is happiness. When we were walking to the kindergarten and my hands were cold, but I would hold her warm little hand. Warmth would wash over me. That was and still is my idea of happiness. Ivan remembers Anna as a playful, adventurous girl, always ready to try something new. They would often dance together no matter which music played. He remembered how she would rollerblade, ice skate, and ski, filling the car with sport equipments and balls. I can totally imagine the car being full with all these equipments. She was like truly sporty, and she was also confident, witty, and independent. The morning of May 3rd, 2023, Anna wore a new skirt and a vest that Ivan suggested. Before she left for school, they hugged and kissed, a precious memory he now holds on to. For her mother, Ninela, the loss of Anna has changed her life forever. I sent my child to school, and you somehow always think school is a safe place. And she also added, as a parent of a victim, it is terrifying and painful that the boy who committed the murders is not being held accountable, neither he nor his parents. Ninela has become an advocate for changing the criminal code to lower the age of a criminal responsibility. So no one actually will go to the web page of a Ministry of Justice and read that they are not criminally responsible and committed serious crime, knowing that neither they nor their parents will face consequences. I am happy that she is fighting for this. Along with other parents, she has campaigned to have the school turned into a memorial center. So the parents want a part of school to be changed into the memorial center, but they are getting some backlash, I think, from other parents, maybe even from school. I'm not sure here. She believes that entire country should have pause on May 3rd, reflecting on the tragedy instead of rushing back to normalcy. The return of students to the same school only a week later felt to her like a missed opportunity for national reflection. She also supports the initiative to dedicate May 3rd as a national day of remembrance for all the innocent victims. As the mother of the victim, all I need is peace. All of this aftermath is just re-traumatizing me further. May 3rd must not be forgotten, and the decision to make it a day to remember all victims gives me hope. Since Anna's death, both parents have found small ways to keep her memory alive. I have a playlist called Anna's Birthday, which she made, and I am playing it often, even when tending to her grave. Ivan also continues to dance with Anna in his mind. Sofia Niglic. When Sofia's mom was pregnant with her, both parents called her Little P. Slobodan, her father, recalls speaking to Milanka's stomach throughout the pregnancy, feeling an overwhelming connection with Sofia. One of the most profound lessons Sofia shared with him was the difference between being a father, someone who provides for a child, and being a dad, a title earned through love and dedication. Slobodan was proud to be her dad. As Sofia grew, she was very mature and understanding. He remembers one evening when he was too tired to play with her, and she kindly told him to rest instead. From that day forward, he promised to never miss a chance to spend time with her. She had a streak of green in her hair, loved wearing her Rage Against the Machine t-shirt, and listened to bands like Rammstein. She was a free spirit, someone who lived outside of rigid rules. Sofia skied perfectly and acted in the videos that she directed herself. Slobodan vividly recalls spending time with her the day before, dropping her off at her mom's place. Sofia's last request to her parents was for them to hug, and they did, while she stood nearby, laughing. It was a moment of joy. The next morning, the tragedy struck. Since that day, Slobodan has felt like the walking dead. His brother Dragan, along with his friends and psychiatrists, has helped him survive each day. Even on a days when he felt like doing nothing, he pushed himself to exercise, which became a vital factor in his survival. Thoughts of death and suicide has crossed his mind, but he knows that Sofia wouldn't want him to give up. However, Sofia's father believes that in some way his mind and consciousness will never fully grasp what truly happened. He doesn't know how he truly survived. Slobodan and Milanka has supported each other throughout this profound grief, finding solace in one another. The tragedy, he explains, is like a ripple that extends beyond the immediate family of the victims, affecting everyone around them and society as a whole. For Sofia's 14th birthday, he composed and performed a song, pouring out his grief and love for Sofia. The lyrics of the songs are: "My child, my life, my only love, I hope you hear my aching heart. My broken wings are crumbling. So sad we have to part. I hope you are smiling somewhere out there, sending signs for your daddy to see. But I am blind here in the darkness, and in your arms I would rather be. They all tell me that I must be strong. They just need to see me standing here alone. But as long as you are gone, I can never go on. I will just sit here and cry in a broken home. But as long as you are gone, I can never go on. I will just sit here and cry for you. You just never had the time to find your ways and shine. But as long as I live, I will have memories to give. I will always be proud you were mine. Somewhere in the future, together we will be. Just give me a strength and wait for me. Somewhere in the future, together we will be. Just give me a strength and wait for me. Katarina Martinović. Katarina was the youngest of 3 daughters and was affectionately called Kata. She devoted herself passionately to ballet, attending both the ballet school and the Ribnikar Primary School. With her older sisters living abroad, Katarina's parents, Zoran and Miljanka, dedicated themselves to support Katarina in her busy routine of school, ballet, and social activities. Her father Zoran ensured Katarina woke up on time every morning, prepared her breakfast, and helped her get ready for school. He arranged his business meetings to fit around her busy schedule, making sure she could carry out all of her activities without interruptions. Although she grew up speaking Serbian, French, and English fluently, it was her non-verbal communication that was the most striking. She had a remarkable ability to communicate without words, often using her expressive eyes. She was kind, sweet, and protective. She often acted as a guardian with a strong sense of justice, always wanting to stand up for what was right. Even though she sometimes missed her classes in the school due to her ballet commitments, her family supported her every step of the way, considering moving her to a different school that would better accommodate her dual passions for academics and dance. On the May 3rd, she had been looking forward to attend school on that fateful day, especially because of the yearbook photo sessions, and she also decided to go to Ribnikar school because of this photo session. Otherwise, she would go to ballet school. This is how I understood. Tragically, that would be her last day. The coffee across from her building where Katarina lived now offers Kata's hot chocolate because so many people miss her. The night before, she made some cookies and they are still there, uneaten, says Zoran, who since May has barely prepared any food at all. The Novo Groblje cemetery, where Katarina is buried, has become an extension of their home. Zoran describes the feeling of visiting her grave as though he is simply moving from one room to another in their house. Just as Katarina loved to keep her room tidy and clean, her family now meticulously tends to her grave. However, Zoran reflects that she is neither in her room nor at the cemetery, but is instead carried within their hearts. Mara Anđelković. Mara was the second of 3 children in a close-knit family. She wasn't even a year old when she began singing Javor by the Roots while sitting in her car seat. Her first words were olive and cucumber, so cute, and only later did she say Mom and Dad. Mara was quiet, but she had a really strong sense of self. From a young age, she displayed independence and self-confidence. Her father, Branko, fondly remembers how she embraced her prominent ears. When her parents suggested surgery to pin them back, she replied, "Are you crazy? Look how much better you can see my earrings like that." Mara had a wide range of interests, from skiing and biking, which she enjoyed with her father, to karate and computers, passions ignited by her mother. She also loved to paint and draw, much like her older sister. Just day before the tragedy, she went to her first concert, attending an Arctic Monkeys performance in Linz with her sister. It was a special moment for the two of them, standing right by the stage, enjoying the music they loved. Mara dreamed of continuing her passion for art and enrolling in design school. One of the latest conversations she had with her father was about her drawings. Proudly showing him her sketches, he jokingly said, "You are not normal." And she replied, Thanks. On the night before the tragedy, he told Mara that he loved her, to the end of the world and back. Since her death, Branko occasionally enters Mara's room, though he admits it's just too difficult for him. For New Year's, a friend gave him a black t-shirt with the inscriptions Yavor and the Roots, a small tribute to the music that connected them. Mara's death has had a significant impact beyond her family. Branko, along with other parents, has been deeply involved in efforts to memorize the part of the school where the tragedy took place. His candidacy for the school board was met with resistance. This decision, along with delays in constructing Memorial Center, had fueled strong emotions among this family and the other families of the victims. Despite challenges, Branko continues to advocate for the Memorial Center, believing that it should be a place not only for collective healing, but also for educating future generations on empathy, humanity, and kindness. Andrija Miloš Čikić. Andrija was known as a bright, creative child who filled his house with melodies. His interests were vast. He loved traveling, taking artistic photos, playing chess and tennis, and most importantly, he loved music. His ability to truly hear and feel music was remarkable. He started his musical journey just before turning 6, and by the time he was 10, he was already playing complex pieces by Rachmaninoff. His teachers believed he was destined for world fame. After his death, an award of a young composers was established in Andrija's name. His composition, Emotions, is now recognized as a significant work, and his parents take comfort in knowing that his talent will be remembered throughout this award. They hope that those who will win the award will be curious about the boy whose name it bears and would come to know the extraordinary person Andrija was. He was always playing something. There was never silence in our home. Never. After we found out that our son has died, entering that empty apartment, the silence that night, I will never forget it, said Miloš, Andrija's father. His desk is exactly how he left it. His camera is there, the math books. He was preparing for a math test that he didn't take because he was on a trip with the music school. He wanted to show his teacher that he could get an A, even though he hadn't been in class this week. The pencil is still on the page where he was practicing area of circular segments, and the date remains May 3rd. There is a souvenir from Prague. He loved to travel and would always bring something back from each trip. His medals, books, cars, just a fraction of his passions, shared Andrija's mother Susanna as she was showing his room. Friends knew him as Chiki or Chike. He never missed group outings or bowling nights with friends, and he managed to juggle his commitments in both school and music with ease. One of his teachers said that sometimes she would panic about getting everything done on time, and he would calm her down. He said, "Don't worry, teacher, we will get everything done." Recently, she told me how after some competition, she started panicking, thinking, "Oh God, how we will manage everything." And she remembered Andrija's words, "Don't worry, teacher, we will get everything done." And everything did get done. I remember about a month or two before the tragedy, we were talking about his future after 8th grade, about whether he would choose to go only to the music high school or both music and general high school. I said, "Let's not think about that now. You still have a year, but you already know you have a great gift." And he said, "You know, Mom, I have thought about it all, but no matter what I think about, music is right here. The academy is right here, and everything else is secondary." Susanna often reflects on the happy moments they shared, particularly their trips. Milos shared how the family's journey to Prague was like living a dream, a memory they now cling to as one of their last joyful experiences together. He was their only child, and his loss has left an irreplaceable void. In the weeks after the tragedy, Andrea's parents received heartfelt letters from people sharing how much Andrea had inspired them to strive for more. His story became a source of motivation for others, and his parents expressed their desire for Andrea to continue inspiring children everywhere. They want to promote values that were important to their son: empathy, humanity, justice, friendship, and love, and ensure that his life, though short, continues to have an impact on the world. Ema Kobilski. Ema was her parents' third blessing, born after 2 failed IVF attempts. Ema was a premature baby, and she overcame all the struggles that came with that as a winner, as a fighter. After all the therapy she had, she grew into a girl who was 1 meter 80 centimeters tall. When she caught up with her peers, she excelled at everything. She had a magnetic personality, always full of life, joy, and kindness, shared Ema's parents. She had a natural grace and excelled in sport, particularly volleyball, where she followed in her father's footsteps. Her father is a former volleyball player, and now he is a volleyball coach. Nina, her mother, recalls how responsible and independent Ema had become. She was eager to help with everything. The night before the tragedy, Ema was excited for school pictures. The next morning, on the May 3rd, she carefully got dressed, applied concealer, mascara, and lip gloss. For the first time, she blow-dried her hair. She was happy with her new look. "I would style my hair like that more often," she said. Her mother told her how beautiful she looked. She went to school, but returned 10 minutes later because she forgot her technical drawings at home, and her younger sister helped her to find them. That would be the last time Ema's family saw her alive. In her last moments, Ema stepped in front of the armed Kosta, trying to stop him. Her last words were, "Kosta, don't! Stop! Kosta, stop!" Dragan, Ema's father, collapsed upon hearing the news. Overcome with grief, he lay on the ground, asking only one question: why? He later shared that the last time he saw his daughter was when he had to identify her body. She was beautiful, even in death. To this day, he continues to send messages to Ema's phone, sharing what is happening in their lives, and he looks at her picture every night, feeling her presence with him. He also voiced frustration with Kosta's parents, who declared themselves as not guilty, showing no remorse or responsibility for their son's action. Nina, too, struggles with the lack of accountability. She has tried to find forgiveness, but it's been made impossible by the fact that no one has asked for it. She feels sorrow, not hate, believing that Kosta's parents failed to raise their child properly and prevent this tragedy. We didn't expect to be on two sides. We expected to breathe and grieve together, them for their situation and us for our. They need to embrace their responsibility. I suffer knowing that those parents weren't role models for him, that they didn't help him, that they didn't solve the problem, and I can't shake the feeling that this didn't have to happen. We are stuck on the May 3rd, waiting for a different outcome from that day. We live in hope that Ema will come to us. We feel her touch, we hear her voice. We live in pain and confronting it every minute, day by day, trying to survive. We don't know how we will manage to do that. Angelina Achimović. Angelina was remarkably determined, responsible, and mature beyond her years. Her talent for art became evident at a very young age, as she started drawing when she was around 4 years old. Her interest and skill in fashion design grew over time, and by the age of 10, she began attending a fashion design class under teacher Gorica Roksandić. She also had a talent for making jewelry and bags, displaying a keen eye for color and design. Even when her family bought new furniture, she wouldn't let anybody else assemble it, insisting on doing it herself. She also loved animals, and she got a dog recently. She was really begging for that dog. Her family finally got her one. Zoya was the dog name, and she would never let her leash go during the walks, afraid that something might happen to her. During their last weekend, the family convinced her to let Zoya leash go and run free, and they all enjoy running together. In her diary, she thanked 2022 for her family and for the dog she got. And she wrote about the goals for 2023. One of her goals was to do her homework on time and to eat sweets only once per week. She also had a list of books she wanted to read and activities she wanted to do. She was relentless, focused, and always striving to push herself further. Angelina also loved to dance and had recently joined a dance group. On May 3rd, 2023, she was severely injured and fought for her life for 12 days before succumbing to her injuries. Her parents prayed for a miracle. Despite being told that her injuries were grave, they refused to give up hope. Those 12 days, they later reflected, were both a gift and a form of agony. They stayed by Angelina's side in the hospital, telling her stories, praying, and holding on to the smallest possibilities that she might survive, even though they knew deep down that her condition was dire. They expressed immense frustration with the lack of accountability from the boy's parents, who they felt had shown little empathy for the victims. Despite their anguish, the family is trying to channel their grief into something meaningful. In Angelina's memory, they established the Angelina Humanitarian Foundation, and also they are using one of her drawings for their logo. Currently, the foundation is making prom dresses for children in foster care. The foundation also focuses on supporting children's fashion education, providing free classes in drawing and design. Her dresses became central to the foundation's efforts, and many designers from Serbia came forward to help create and display Angelina's designs, turning her vision into the reality. Angelina's father shared how much it meant to them, him and the family, that her friends wore those dresses to the prom. It was a bittersweet moment. These dresses have become more than just pieces of fabric. They are symbols of Angelina's legacy, of a life filled with promise and potential that was cut tragically short. Angelina's ambitions were always concrete. She had high but realistic goals. She was talented in interior design and dreaming of studying it, possibly in France. She also worked with fashion and art, making jewelry and bags. She even designed her own logo, which we still use today. She had an interest in science too. We will never know where life would have taken her. In our home, we knew her as mature, a diplomat, her thoughts far beyond what was expected of her. We feel we have no other choice but to continue her legacy, helping others just as she wanted. Adriana Djukic. Adriana was born in France, just like her parents. The family moved from Paris to Belgrade in 2020, feeling that the streets of Belgrade were safer than those of Paris. When they moved, Adriana gave the following song to her mom. Mom, you are the most beautiful in the world, because so much love, even when you cry, floods your beautiful eyes. If the streets of Belgrade take me away from your embrace, you are still my dear mother, and I will never forget you. You are the one who gave me life. You are a part of me. Nothing is more precious, nothing is more charming, nothing is more touching than the smile of my dear mother. I love you. This is an English translation. Original is written in French. Adriana wasn't just an ordinary kid. She was like a second mother in the family. Even when no one asked her, she naturally took on responsibilities. She was dedicated to care for her younger siblings, often helped out her parents. Her mother Biljana said that their relationship often felt more like a friendship because Adriana was so mature. When the family moved to Belgrade, Adriana faced the challenge of adjusting to a new school system, making friends, and learning Cyrillic. Although at first she wasn't familiar with Cyrillic alphabet, she learned it quickly and made many friends. Adriana found a great joy in dancing Serbian folklore dance called kolo. She wanted to become a doctor to cure her grandfather, so sweet, who suffered from heart problems. He used to tell her, "My dear, when you become a doctor, I won't be around anymore." She was very thoughtful towards everyone, and this story is an example of her thoughtfulness. Adriana's mother Biljana expressed her deep grief and anger publicly after her daughter's death. She turned to social media to demand accountability from the school manager, including the principal, teachers, and psychologists, and especially from the Kostas family. No one is guilty. No one feels responsibility. No one. Whoever has a guilty conscience, whoever feels there is something left to say it now. Now or never. You are all guilty, and you all stay silent. I wonder how you will carry this on your soul for the rest of your life. And do you wonder what awaits you after that? Admit your mistakes and seek forgiveness for honesty towards yourself and others, for our angels. I will certainly not forgive you, but maybe the one above will. She believed that they all had a role in allowing the tragic events to unfold, yet no one of them, referring to Kosta's parents and the school, admitted any wrongdoings. Our children are dead, and nothing will bring them back, but this cannot be forgotten, and it cannot go unpunished, so that it will never happen again. Adriana's father Dane has also been deeply affected by guilt. He explained that they had moved from France to Serbia because they believed it would be a safer environment for their children. I blame myself for bringing them to Belgrade to live. I grieve every day. I don't work and I feel guilty. Our lives has turned into regular visits to cemetery. Everyone who picked up their kids that day is happy, and we are dead for life. Maybe it would have been a bit easier for me if everything had happened in France, but here it feels as though she was killed by a brother. They weren't in a disco or a mall. They were in the right place. To Adriana, if she hears me, and I know she does, I'm sorry for sending you to school that day. Biljana struggles with the memories of that morning. I drove her to school. She was joyful, all dressed up. She never came out of that school again. My whole life stopped. Someone took my Adriana. A fresco will be painted in the church of San Sava, where Adriana was baptized. Her angelic face will be immortalized on the walls of the church. This was suggested to Adriana's parents by a priest, and they welcomed the idea as a way to keep Adriana's memory alive. I want to thank you for staying until the end. In the description box below, I have gathered some resources for those affected by mass shootings, and I also included common signs that a potential mass shooter might show months, weeks, or days before committing the gruesome act. If you notice any of these signs, don't hesitate to inform your parents, teachers, the school principal, and the authorities. Thank you for listening.